I'd like to call this meeting to order. This evening, our clerk is not here, but our attorney is acting as our clerk. So if you could please read the statement.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public and the press on January 3rd, 2019, and was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-7.
Roll call.
Councilmember Ooms.
Here.
Councilmember Carreri.
Here.
Councilmember Van Tassel, absent. Councilmember Allberger.
Here.
Council President Murphy.
Here. Please rise to salute the flag.
Is the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening, we have a few proclamations. We will start off with Public Works Week. Mr. Babcock and maybe some members. Services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives. And whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of a public works system, and programs such as streets and roadways, parks, sewers, public facilities, greatly depends on the efforts and skill of public works officials, and whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. Now, therefore, I, Harry J. Shortway, Mayor of the Township of Vernon, do hereby proclaim the week of May 19th through May 25th as National Public Works Week in the Township of Vernon, and I call upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing our public works and to recognize the contributions which public works officials make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Harry J. Shortway, Mayor. Gene Murphy, Council President. Next, we have Police Week, and I would ask if Chief Dan Young, Captain Kikowski, and Councilmember Carreri could step forward, or if all the officers would like to step forward and surround him, go right ahead.
Safest I felt in a very long time. Police Week 2019. Whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed a proclamation which designated May 15th as Peace Officer Memorial Day, and the week in which that date falls as Police Week, which for 2019 is Sunday, May 12th through Saturday, May 18th. And whereas the members of the Township of Vernon Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the Township of Vernon, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas the men and women of the Vernon Township Police Department unceasingly provide a vital service. Now therefore, Council President Gene Murphy, Mayor Shortway, and the Vernon Township Council do hereby proclaim that the week of May 12, 2019 through May 18, 2019 is designated as Police Week in the Township of Vernon, and call upon all citizens and patriotic civic and educational organizations to observe this week with appropriate ceremonies and observances in which all of our community may join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who, by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in doing so, have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. Given under my free hand, in these free United States, in the Township of Vernon, State of New Jersey, on this 13th day of May, 2019, and to which I have caused the seal of the Township of Vernon to be affixed and have made this proclamation public, Harry J. Shortway, Mayor, and Gene Murphy, Council President.
On behalf of the Police Department, I'd like to extend our sincere appreciation for the recognition. As you can see from the overwhelming response tonight of everybody that came in, the support of the council means the world to us. And in the state of affairs in the country today, with the view on law enforcement, it's so nice to have the recognition, not only from the community but from the council as well. So thank you very much.
Are you going to mention the June 1st ice cream with the cop?
I can. I didn't expect to, but on June 1st, we're going to be doing ice cream with the cop right here in the parking lot. It's sponsored by the Vernon PAL, so but you bring your kids. We're going to be here from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll be doing some police station tours and some meet and greet with everybody, so it should be a fun day. All right, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
And next we have Buddy Poppy Month. So members of the Vernon VFW. Buddy Poppy Month, May 2019. Whereas the annual distribution of Buddy Poppies by the veterans of foreign wars of the United States has been officially recognized and endorsed by governmental leaders since 1922. And whereas Buddy Poppies are assembled by disabled veterans and the proceeds of this worthy fundraising campaign are used exclusively for the benefit of disabled and needy veterans and the widows and orphans of deceased veterans. And whereas the purpose of the sale of Buddy Poppies by the veterans of foreign wars is eloquently reflected in the desire to honor the dead by helping the living, the 2019 Buddy Poppy Drive is being held during the month of May. And whereas the Wallkill Valley VFW 8441 and its Ladies Auxiliary promote the sale of Buddy Poppy throughout the township. And whereas we urge all patriotic citizens to wear a Buddy Poppy as a symbol of gratitude to the men and women of this country who have risked their lives in defense of the freedoms which we continue to enjoy as American citizens. Now, therefore, I, Council President Gene Murphy, Mayor Shortway, and the Vernon Township Council do hereby proclaim May 2019 as Buddy Poppy Month in Vernon Township. We hereby urge the citizens of this community to recognize the merits of this cause by contributing generously to this invaluable program. Given under my hand in these free United States and the Township of Vernon, State of New Jersey, on this 13th day of May, 2019, and to which I have caused the seal of the Township of Vernon to be affixed and have made this proclamation public. Harry J. Shortway, Mayor, Gene Murphy, Council President. Thank you. Councilmember Ohms will now be presenting the proclamations for Memorial Day.
This proclamation is for Memorial Day 2019, whereas Memorial Day, originally called Decoration Day, is a day of remembrance for those who have died in service of the United States of America. And whereas, while it's difficult to prove conclusively the origins of Memorial Day, President Lyndon Johnson in May 1966 proclaimed that Waterloo, New York was officially the birthplace of Memorial Day. And whereas regardless of the exact date or location of its origins, one thing is clear: Memorial Day was born out of the Civil War and a desire to honor our dead. It was officially proclaimed on May 5, 1868, by General John Logan, National Commander of the Grand Army of the Republic in his General Order Number 11. The 30th of May, 1868, is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, and hamlet churchyard in the land. He proclaimed, and whereas on the first Decoration Day at Arlington National Cemetery, 5,000 participants decorated the graves of the 20,000 Union and Confederate soldiers buried there. And whereas after World War I, the holiday changed from honoring just those who died fighting in the Civil War to honoring Americans who died fighting in any war. And whereas it's now observed in almost every state on the last Monday in May with congressional passage of the National Holiday Act of 1971. Now, therefore, Council President G. Murphy, Mayor Shortway, and the Vernon Township Council do hereby honor our servicemen and women from every branch of the service who have served in all the nation's wars for their enduring dedication to the preservation of America and our way of life. Given under my hand in these free United States in the Township of Vernon, State of New Jersey, on this 13th day of May, 2019, and to which I have caused the seal of the Township of Vernon to be affixed and have made this proclamation public. Harry J. Shortway and G. Murphy.
Next, if we could have Doreen Edwards come up for Lyme disease.
Lyme disease. Whereas Lyme disease is the fastest growing vector-borne disease in the United States, ticks are the main source of infection for humans and animals. Each year, 1 out of 30 persons will be infected with tick-borne diseases in Sussex County, according to the CDC. Whereas ticks become active when outside temperature is above 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and once infected, many patients are unable to recall a tick bite, with fewer than 50% reporting a bullseye rash. Whereas ticks that carry Lyme disease can carry many other pathogens, one bite can result in multiple infections, including bacteria, parasites, and viruses, which encompass many tick-borne diseases. Whereas Lyme disease can be a complex, multi-symptom illness, which if caught early can be treated with antibiotics, but if left untreated can invade the nervous system, heart, and multiple organs of the body, causing years of pain, suffering, and severe disability. Called the Great Imitator, symptoms can mimic over 300 diseases, including but not limited to MS, Parkinson's, ALS, fibromyalgia, and Alzheimer's disease. Whereas the best protection against tick-borne disease is prevention, education, and early treatment. Now and therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Vernon hereby proclaims May 19th as Lyme Disease Awareness Month and urges all residents to raise awareness for the prevention of Lyme disease. Proclaimed this 13th day of May 2019, Harry J. Shortway, Mayor, G. Murphy, Council President. Yes, please do.
Okay, I guess the reason they picked me to get this proclamation is because I'm with a small group of volunteers who saw the need for education, because we realize prevention is the best way to go when it comes to tick-borne diseases and co-infections you can get from these tiny little ticks. So our group is called the Tick Squad, and we go around to any group that's interested in hearing about this, how they can protect themselves. And we have a hotline number where people can call. And I'll just give you that number now, because I just want to say the best way, if you have a tick on you, save it, bag it. You can send it out and get it tested to see what kind of pathogens or what it may have in it. Therefore, you know whether you should go on a long thing of antibiotics or what course of action you should take. So the number is 201-213-4178. So far, we've educated over 1,000 persons. The last big group we did was at the YMCA for Children's Health Day. Of course, we could tailor it to a child, getting to know the information. And then we've also done for Trout Unlimited, we've had 70 people there. And unfortunately, when we ask how many people here have or know somebody who has tick-borne disease, about half the people raise their hand. So it's very important. We're trying to work with the freeholders to get some funds to do tick drags, to do more education. So we're just out there trying to help, that's all. Okay, good luck. Stay tuned.
Next, we have a presentation by a Boy Scout. So if Connor Mintier could please step forward. Working on his Eagle Scout project. It's an app that it's for a sign in the Glenwood section of town. So, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Connor Mintier from Troop 48.
Excuse me, can you hear him okay, Larry? Can you hear him okay?
Is there a microphone? Like, just use these? Do you mind if I move the... Is this...
Yeah, just watch it doesn't fall,
Okay.
because it separates a little.
So, good evening, everyone. My name's Connor Mintier. I'm a Boy Scout from Troop 48, and I'm working on my Eagle project, which I had been previously working on with the HPC, but now that they're sort of inactive, I have to expand it a bit. And I'd like to first thank Mr. Crary and Mr. Volker for working with me on it at this point. Thank you. And the project is over in Glenwood, New Jersey. There's some historical sites over by Pochuck Valley Farms area, and I've already gotten permissions from the lady, Miss Williams, who owns the area. And so my project is to put up a sign and some signposts at each site, and there's an app, like a phone app. It's only going to be for Samsung and Android phones. There's expenses with the Apple Store, but so it's going to tell information about each historical site, and I have some flow charts. This is a little hard to see from here, but if anyone would like would anyone like a printout? Or?
Sure, I would like one. Sure, if you'd like to just bring it over here and then they pass it down.
Just a little flow chart. It just shows each screen of the app, and so you can see at the top there's just the main screen, which each button on it, I've got the Vernon banner. Then it just splits off into different areas. There's an instructions, which I have. A lot of this stuff is placeholder at the moment. I haven't added it in text, like in the credits where I'm going to, of course, put in everyone involved helping with the app, and a little memorial for Mr. Kadish. And in the site area, like enter a site number, each post around each historical site will have a number on it. So you'll input the number or the name of the site. I'm so just making a decision on what's easier. And you can see it'll lead to a little video with a picture of the site. And we're working who's going to narrate it. I'm probably going to narrate some of it, but to help out, my father's a friend at work who does narration. So it's just going to tell information about the historical site. The only thing is a lot of the information, so some of the pictures, videos, we want a nice place to store them so the app can access them so the user doesn't have to download everything with the app. They'll just need internet connection and they can get it off the internet. So we were thinking it would be possible to put this on the Vernon website. And I know PaviaWeb runs this, so I just needed permission from the council to set up a time with PaviaWeb, if it would be possible, please.
You can probably speak to
Yes,
Mr. Volker.
thank you. I had a meeting with Mr. Volker, and we had called PaviWeb, and we just to verify it with the whole council. That was
It's doable, but he wanted to do the presentation before the
Right.
council, before he asked for
Right,
the resolution.
I'm asking, is that please possible if to put the pictures and videos on the Vernon website?
I'd agree to that, absolutely.
So does anyone have any comments on maybe changing a direction on this, or
Actually, I'd just like to thank Councilmember Carreri for picking up where Councilmember Kadish left off with you, which was, was great. Because I know you were working on this previously with Councilmember Kadish, so through the Historic Preservation Commission. So, but any council members have any questions?
thank you very much.
Just one comment, Connor. If you haven't yet, take a look on YouTube at the June 11th, 2018 meeting where Councilman Kadish mentioned this. His face was kind of beaming with pride when he was talking about your project. So if you haven't saved it yet, save that video. And congratulations.
Thank you.
We move on to our public comments. Please note comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. This is for agenda items only. May I have a motion to open the floor to public comment?
Second.
Member Wahlberger, second from Councilmember Ohms. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there anyone from the public that would like to step forward, have any comments on any agenda items? Please step forward.
My comments tonight are regarding Resolution 19-119, authorizing the use of open space funds of $176,000 for the town center biking and walking trail. First, let me preface my comments by stating I have been a longtime proponent of the plan for Vernon Trails, and I acknowledge and support the importance of recreational amenities for Vernon. However, I did not support the change of use of some of the funds because I was concerned it would be spent recklessly. Resolution 19-119 is this first example of putting the cart before the horse in a rush to try to accomplish something. I have reviewed the proposed trail plan in which the town center trail is depicted. This would not be the first time Mayor Shortway tried to propose a trail path without the easements or proper approvals to do so. In fact, he presented to this council, and the council voted, to apply for grant money for property we did not own, and this was done again recently for this plan. I have a copy of the grant, and it's depicting the trail on property we do not really own. The use of the open space funds for trail development cannot be squandered on poor plans and reckless spending. Resolution 19-119 is apparently prematurely on the agenda. The third paragraph refers to the trail traveling through easements and land owned by the town. That is not true. I don't know if the town acquired an easement for access through the PAL property, but that is a separate entity which the township would need legal and technical approval for the trail easement. I don't recall that action on the council's agenda. But more importantly is the assumption that the township can use a sewer easement to construct a trail and impact that easement in ways not covered in the sewer easement agreement. Block 141, Lot 16, known to some of us as the Stanhill property, or HR2 property, which also contains a solar farm for business, is shown to have the trail depicted there and developed on the sewer line easement. The owner has not given any approval for a trail to traverse this property. In fact, it is my opinion that without specific approval, the town has no right to use the easement for anything other than a sewer line. I've obtained copies of the easement agreements for Block 141, Lot 16, and in no way, shape, or form should you authorize any of our open space funds to be used on land without specific notification of the owner and approval by the landowner. A sewer easement is not a trail easement. This plan is ill-conceived, and you will bear the responsibility for wasting this money and perhaps plenty more on potential lawsuits. The sewer easement agreement does not allow for any other use but the sewer line. I am against wasting the open space funds on incomplete and premature ideas. The grant application for this plan shows the trail traversing the Baldwin property, a property we do not own, nor do we have an easement on, to my knowledge. The mayor's PowerPoint shows the same, the trail traversing the Baldwin property. A more recent plan shows a different route crossing the Stanhill property. Please remove it from your agenda and vet it out more thoroughly before you bear the responsibility of Shortway's folly. Number one, we don't have the easements. Number two, the plans depicted are different depending on which map we're looking at. So what are we even voting on if we do vote? And number three, you cannot authorize the spending of funds on something that doesn't exist. Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public that have any comments would like to step forward?
Hi, Doreen Edwards, Highland Lakes. Not to beat the tick issue to death, but I would like to. Just to mention to the folks, you know, as you're up here, you get a little nervous so you don't complete all your thoughts as you would like. For people who are suffering, I want you to know Pennsylvania is far ahead of us in this task to try to help folks who are sick with these diseases. They just opened up a tick-borne disease wellness center, Pike Family Health Center at 750 Route 739, Lords Valley, PA. And you could call 570-775-7100 for an appointment and additional information. That's number one. The other thing I alluded to about saving the tick, if it's embedded in you, is that you can get it tested. There are different places. If you go online, I know Northeastern University in Pennsylvania is one. And believe me, if it's $50, $60, it's worth it, folks, for those who have persistent, they don't like to say chronic, but persistent Lyme's. It's not fun to live with. So I just wanted to mention that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And I happen to have been at both meetings this year and last year, the freeholder meetings, when the Tick Patrol actually, when they really did show up and do their presentation, and that's what they call themselves. So anyway, Tick Squad, Tick Patrol, but it was, thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to step forward? Yes.
Wanted to talk about the resolution that's on the agenda for the spending of the open space funds. We've been working 3 long years on this plan. We feel the Greenway Action Advisory Committee has fully vetted the whole process. We work closely with the township engineer, and we think it's ready to move forward. And we're still looking for your support, and we appreciate your support if you do support and vote yes for that resolution tonight. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question, Mike? Do you have a copy of the sewer easement agreement between the property owner and the town? Have you guys looked at that?
The township engineer looked at the sewer easement.
So you have a copy of that?
I don't personally have a copy of that.
Have you seen a copy of that?
I've seen the actual easement.
The easement agreement between the town and the property
I
owner?
personally have not seen the easement agreement.
Okay, thank you.
We're relying on the township engineer to fully.
So while you're here, I just want to ask you a question because you've worked on it. So when I look at that map, it follows an easement, correct? That goes on somebody else's property. But then I'm following that blue line on the most recent one we were giving in April when they did their presentation. So the blue line indicates that that's the path, correct?
Correct.
And it follows an easement. But then it stops. And then you have a little piece of property that's nothing. Your blue line doesn't go to pick, indicate that's the trail. It just stops. And then you have a little piece of property there that is somebody else's. And then it goes to the township property. They have to cross over the road and to make that loop.
The pump station?
Yes, right at the pump station it stops.
I mean,
I know,
you're
I'm
turning
trying
this
to
into a
see what you're
presentation.
referring to.
This is turning into a presentation now. So
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that short piece.
Yeah, so how are you going to get from where it stops to over to the loop without going on somebody else's property?
I believe it's still following the sewer easement. It just had to shift it down, which is a little slightly different from the original drawing. On the original map that was shown, the original, the mayor's presentation, when we walked the actual trail, we actually had, more accurate maps. And that's when the engineer developed the actual path.
When we were given in February that you applied for the grant, that was going on Baldwin's property.
Sure. I'm not sure if the original drawing may have shown that. And then when we went out and actually we walked that trail, and that was with Patrick and Mark.
That map was given to us with a letter that said that the trail was all going to be on town property. But then when you looked at the map, it was going right to Baldwin's property. So I had asked the mayor, do we own that property? And he said that's all easement property.
That's sewer easement, yeah, that's.
But not on Baldwin's property, but that's good enough. So
The
it's a lot of
original map-
conflicting information.
The original map from the grant application was slightly different than the final engineered map, because you authorized him to look at the entire plan and make sure it's engineered properly. So that's why we're relying on the township engineer for that information. That's how I understand it. Does that answer the
A lot of
question?
questions. And I'd like to pull that resolution and decide when we get to that resolution.
Any other comments?
No, again, I appreciate your support if you do support it. Thank you.
Are there any other comments from anyone? If you'd like to step forward? Seeing no one, may I have a motion to close? May I have a second?
Oberger on the motion, Councilwoman Ooms on the second.
Next, we have our regular meeting minutes of April 8th. May I have a motion to adopt those minutes? May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Ooms.
Yes.
Councilmember Carreri.
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel, absent. Councilmember Allberger.
Yes.
Councilmember Murphy.
Yes. Next, we move on. Items for discussion. Ordinance 1910, the bond ordinance appropriating $2,038,668 and authorizing the issuance of $1,549,527 in bonds or notes. Is there anyone here that would like to start the discussion on it?
The first thing is on here for vote. I don't think we can vote on that tonight because, from my understanding, the budget is not prepared yet. Am I correct in that? That we're not voting on the budget? All right. Well, I don't want to introduce it until we look at the budget goes through. But my second concern is there's a lot of questions about the turf field. It's a big expenditure. And I've been following the reports, I've been following the insurance letter. And when Pinnacle wrote their letter, they did not receive any other copies of the tests being done on the field. So they have not the newest versions of the testing that was all under the 165.
I sent that email to
Okay, so
our
they're aware of
attorney,
that.
Josh.
Okay.
He received an email questioning why Pinnacle only received the test results from March 13th and not the March 20th. I could see that they didn't receive the ones from May 9th because that just happened. But their letter was based on only the results from the March 13th, which I believe is before any of the repairs were done to the field. So, and then they were also looking at some of the information that came from the Synthetic Turf Council. And I think what they were doing is it almost appeared to me that when they read the report from the Synthetic Turf Council, they believed that that was information that was coming from Sport Care, who does the repairs. So I'm not sure if they were mixing in the two. But like I said, after the repairs, the results that are in those tests say that they are acceptable for play. So the question that I believe the council has, and that's what I did check with council members before I sent the email, is, are we, in fact, I mean, how long is the repair good for? We don't know. We're not the experts, and we'd like the fields to be safe. But then again, it's a huge expenditure on the taxpayers if we can repair the fields. And I know there was mention that maybe it would cost $15,000 a year for continual repairs. But as opposed to, borrowing $800,000 to replace them, I mean, that's a big difference. So I think that we really need to get more information as far as if that's the right move. Can we continue to repair them? Because, like I said, if a report's coming through saying that they're acceptable, how can we be voting to replace them when we're getting reports that say they're acceptable? And
Better, more conclusive as to why it needed to be done?
the engineer bases his reports on the material and things like that, but it's still an engineer's opinion, but we're still going by the safety aspects. I mean, when we're reading the reports that say whether it's, and I'm just going to say 141 or whatever, the information on it, and it needs to be under 165 according to the Synthetic Turf Council, where Sports Care says that their levels are acceptable under 200. And of course, we'd like it to be safe. We'd like it to be, at least the 165 or under. But it's just that we're receiving many reports, but my bigger concern is that Pinnacle, who is our risk management company, they only received the one report. And their letter was dated April 23rd, so I don't believe there's no reason why they should not have had that second report to look at.
Well, all of them are out now since they did one May 9th. And those reports came back as acceptable. They should be getting all of them.
Rooms, which has a certain cost to it, but it's like getting the juice out of a lemon. There's only so much juice left, and so the fields only have so much life left in them. We were hoping to extend it to the point where that they could be used until such time as they can be replaced, but I think that's why the engineers' analysis was they need to be done. And I think that if you go over and see the fields, you'll see how they have lost a lot of what the substantial resiliency that they had at one time. Can we get a little more time at them? Yes, perhaps, but it's not a guarantee. And these are fields that are heavily used and have been. I think they date back to
2005.
Pardon me?
2005.
Right. So I think the projection is that they have made it a lot longer than they thought they would, because we have done the proper grooming and such each year. But there's only so much, like I said, juice left in the lemon that you can really extend it any further.
The drops, when they drop their drops, and they drop it, I guess, 3 times in certain areas. So when those drops keep on coming back consistently under 165, and that's the gold standard to be under 165, how can you say they need to be replaced? I can see fixing, I think the one field, the middle field, only had one drop that was over 165. Can you fix just that one area?
Yeah.
And then it's coming in within the same guidelines as the football field. So if those soccer fields are unsafe, according to what you guys believe, then that football field needs to be shut down as well, because that comes in the same GMAX score in the 130s.
Soccer and/or lacrosse activity is centered more in one area for a prolonged period of time. If you notice that the areas that were the worst condition were right in front of the goal area.
Right. So can they be repaired? And they came back under 165 in the last two reports.
After we did some re-grooming, but that they can't guarantee how long that's going to last.
Right,
So-
but still, so you're, if I'm looking at,
Can I make a suggestion?
Michelle put the costs together here, and on May 9th to do the testing was $1,800. On March 20th, it was $3,800. I think that was probably with the repair and probably testing, I believe. And then on March 13th, it was $1,500. So, I mean, yes, that's costly, but we're looking at, $800,000 versus the maintenance per year.
Maybe try with repairing them this year and then do the testing next year. I mean, is that an option?
Or just look at pieces of paper and the attached information that there's a visit to the site, and that somebody could go over this with you in person to see what the difference is now versus what it was years ago, and what they believe it needs to be. I think that's
well, then I understand what you're saying. Then why do testing and have any parameters if we're only going by a visual? And to me, if they're the expert at certified in fields for being safe, and if they're the expert, I wouldn't be an expert at that. I would look at the report.
I understand that the report is important information, but going out to the field and seeing the present condition would be helpful as well. And you can go to those particular areas and see why it's different here.
Yeah, but I won't.
Here, and that
But I won't
I
be
think that
able
would
to
be extremely helpful.
Well, I'm not against visiting the field and seeing, but like I said, on this one report, it shows that section 6, which is right in front of a field, in front of the goal, that came in at 171.5. That's the only area. The next one was location 7, that was 139.5. So all the other locations are well below the 165 that's acceptable to the Turf Council, except for that one. So it's just, I guess we are looking at this paper and saying, so why can't that section be replaced? If it is the goal sections, why cannot those sections? So actually, Ms. Downtain is here, so that would be great if you could come up and maybe speak, so the microphone could pick you up. Because, like I said, it's still an expense. Yeah.
So, go ahead, which question?
Well, I'm just saying is if we have one area that's just exceeding the 165, it's difficult for us to vote.
No, I understand. So, new turf sections can't be put in any longer because the last repair we had where we put a new piece of turf in, it's so far degraded in the fibers, they're down here, that the new sections were literally hand sheared by the repairmen and still don't match up. So, and we're paying for this. So we have new turf that sits nice and fluffy up here with high grit blades, and then we have our turf down here. And then when it's down here, the black rubber sits on top of it, and then you don't have traction, and you could slide, and then all of that compacts down and also gets splayed off to the side, so it's not there anymore. So the test done on May 9th, we're still okay, but there's those areas that we're not okay. We're there. We're like borderline. So to keep using the turf fields, we'd have to be proactive, and we'd have to keep doing this service at $1,400 a field about every 6 to 8 weeks to stay ahead of them failing. And then there's no guarantee. So if we do that for another full year, and we do that every 6 to 8 weeks, we're in about $20,000 out of the money we do have to use for a deposit for the new fields. So come next year, we won't have that. There's that point. And then there's no guarantee. It's not a long-term fix. It's not a repair. It's a fluffing of the infill. So it's like your pillow. You sleep on it, it flattens out, it's hard. You fluff it, it's okay, until you sleep on it again. I mean, that's like the best description I can give. So we can do it, and we could risk it, and then we could be 2 weeks into the fall season, and we can do the service, and then we can do another test, and the test can show it failed. And then we're not set up for the fields for the sports to be anyplace else. We have to close the fields mid-season and wait another whole season again to be right back where we are today. Does that help at all?
I've seen the GMAX tests.
Yes.
I'm most concerned with head injuries. Have we had a recent head impact test, the HIC?
No, we only do the GMAX. We haven't.
And that would be more sensitive than the GMAX test.
For the turf fields, they normally just do the GMAX test. I haven't ordered an HIC, but the GMAX, that 200 number, is a little more lenient, and the ASTM is looking to lower it down closer to 165, and then the Synthetic Turf Council is also looking to lower it to 160, because basically 200, that's life-threatening injuries are most likely to occur if you hit your head at a GMAX level of 200 on a surface. Mm-hmm. There's no impact on the surface. It's all on your head.
That's what I'm concerned about. That's why I'm asking.
But all of the numbers are close to or below, except for the one on the results. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So we're not even at the 200. We're looking at the 165.
That decompaction done, but if we're going to continue, we have to have that done every 6 to 8 weeks to even have hopes that we won't go over that 165. But another point is, so they do 10 spots on the field, and they do 3 drops on each spot. So they do it here, and it's okay. They do it here, it's okay. But they didn't do it here. And the way that our fields are at this point, odds are that if they do it every spot across, you're going to have a lot higher numbers. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it's random where they're doing it, and so this is coming in at 162, and this one's coming in at 175. But what if I fall right here and that spot didn't get tested? All of our numbers are high enough that the odds are that there are spots on that field that are higher than what we know, or that are also right there on the borderline that this test and this service isn't going to take care of all of it.
Why don't they drop it when you see indications, like you said?
They do.
Well, this
they
area.
have their set zones, and they do them. So, like the one on March 13th, March 20th, and May 9th, it says Zone 6, but it wasn't the same exact spot in Zone 6 every single time, because unless you put an X on it, you don't remember exactly where you stood. You know what I'm saying? So we fluffed it up. We decompacted the infill. It fluffed it up. But you could see, if you have the May 9th reports, I don't know if you got them yet.
Yes.
So the infill itself has decompacted 4 to 5 millimeters on both fields. So or compacted. It's back compacted. So in another few weeks, with more use on it, that's going to compact even further. And that's when the GMAX numbers start to go up. And that's why you have to keep doing this fluffing service. But as it's fluffing, the blades are still degrading further, and just like with anything, once it's compromised, it degrades faster and faster the closer it gets to the end.
So are you saying
we're at the end? My official call to all of the sports leagues is that we should close fields July 1st. Either we're going to be able to replace them this year, or we're going to have to prep other fields and towns to be used, because my professional official opinion is that we will not make it through using this service another full season, and we're at risk of somebody getting hurt.
And when you say you're going to prep other fields, what other fields?
Well, there was time in Vernon before we had turf fields, so we have to put manpower and expense into revamping those other fields to be ready for use, because we are not able to replace the upper 2 turf fields.
You're talking about dirt fields, just grass fields?
Yeah, grass fields, yeah. But, I mean, that will take, time and expense to do that because since we've had turf fields, everybody's focused on the turf fields and the other ones haven't been kept up to par for continual playing and sports standards.
Well, it's still difficult to vote to spend money when you're looking at reports that say they're
Right.
acceptable.
No, I don't disagree
And
with you at all.
So
You got to...
right, but it gives the
gotta break
appearance
it
that we're
down.
voting to spend money, taxpayer money, for fields that are still good. If it's an expense of $20,000 a year to repair, council has to decide: do we spend $20,000 a year
Well-
revamping them?
Well, absolutely, but the thing is that is only temporary. Regardless of whether it's July 1st or, the council votes and wants us to risk going through the full season, there is absolutely no way those fields will be able to open next year.
So we can't make it, there are no more repairs after 2019 that would keep the
Well,
fields acceptable?
There's no repairs that can be done now because the turf doesn't match up, and that actually creates a bigger hazard because then it creates a tripping hazard. It's just a service to decompact what infill is left. And the more the blades degrade, the more infill we have to actually take out so that it's not sitting on top of the field. So July 1st, or as I said, to me, it's a risk to keep them open through the fall season for play. So that I say July 1st. Either way. And then, as I said, there was life in Vernon before turf fields, and, then we need to put the time and expense into making other fields usable for all of the sports, because we want our kids to be able to have sports.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody here
Right.
disagrees with that.
No, I don't think so either. I'm just giving you my full opinion.
Yeah.
Did I answer your questions a little better or no? Did I help? A little bit? And if you want to go to the fields, I'll go, I'm happy to go to the fields with you also and show you the different things that...
I don't know that we're I put packets together to make sure that the council members had because we received information on Friday. So I actually made sure that everybody had their packets. But like I said, it's just, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of
when
money.
we don't have money. And now we have to be looking at replacing the football field in a year.
Within another
which
2
is another
years.
$400,000.
A little bit
So-
more because it's a little bit bigger, yeah.
I had a resident ask me. They asked if we went over to Pine Island and priced the sod, since we have the drainage. Did you? I said, no, that's not what we do. But
No, exactly. I understand completely. Hopefully between the financial plan that Donnell's able to put together and having the money for the deposit and following through,
and
it'll make sense.
well, what's not and does the Board of Ed? I know the high schools play. Do they contribute towards repairs?
The Board of
towards
Ed,
maintenance?
yes, actually they do different things for the fields for us. They replace nets, they put lines in, and I work closely with the athletic director. We talk every day at this point basically about all of the fields and all of the use, and they are cooperating with scheduling on their fields to help ease up on our turf fields a little bit more. And their football field is also coming due, so we're hoping that at some point we'll be able to, our football field and their football field will line up to be able to get better pricing by doing multiple fields at once.
I don't know. At the rate their increases are, I don't know.
I know.
I mean, we're already looking
But I
at a
can't help
huge
that.
increase from the Board of Ed this year. And that's the other thing that comes, no pun intended, but into play here. I mean,
I live here, just
Yeah.
as all of you do.
Yeah.
I agree with all of it. I can just give you my professional recommendations on everything that I know, and for the safety of everybody who uses the fields.
Are we still renting the fields out, or have they been limited to just?
No, we've done a few minimal rentals, an hour here, an hour there. There's really no time available for anything more than that. So at this point, the fields are safe. And there was an hour and a half today that Warwick came and rented our fields. Nothing impactful, either in funding or in use. Nothing impactful.
Are those fields being used every day, all day long? All day long, every
Well,
day?
not while people are in school. They're not during the day while people are in school, but every evening, 7 days a week, all day, all weekend, they're in use. Yes.
Spend $1 million when all our reports are saying you can understand the predicament.
I absolutely understand all of it. That's why I'm just trying to give you answers for your questions, so you have everything you need. The reports say they are safe right now today. It's not long-term, and it will not last. That I am positive. Overall, yes. So, and our DPW does awesome work in grooming and maintaining the fields, which is why they've lasted 14 years. It's just a matter of the fact that the fibers are not there to hold it up anymore. That's what it comes down to. The blade fibers they're just not there. So we're doing everything we can. We're using kid gloves. All of the sports are cooperating. Everyone is cooperating. Everyone understands that uses the fields where they're at, and they don't want to see them closed, but that is where they're at. At this point, this year, 3 have rented the fields. 3 different groups have rented the fields this year. And like I said, nothing long-term, no big amounts of time or money coming in, because we've been... Oh, no. At least 15 have inquired about using the field. Only 3 actually have, other than our own in-town sports. Yeah, they get inquired about daily at this point with the rain, especially because other towns don't have turf fields.
I mean,
and the evidence is telling us that's safe. I understand what you're saying.
No, that's
But I
okay.
can't dispute the evidence and the professional company that is saying that they're safe to play. At 200, we're even thinking 165, and they're still coming back less than 165. So it's a difficult decision to make when our reports and the professionals are telling us this is what it is.
The company that does the testing are the ones that suggest that every 6 weeks we do this decompaction. And they said they have seen towns do that for up to a year. They said after that year of doing that, because each time you do that, it actually also breaks down the fibers a little bit more because it's digging in deep. But that company, Sport Care, they said a year maybe, if your tests keep holding up, but no longer than a year.
I think
So that's where I get some of this knowledge from.
Sandy, you spoke to Sports Care, right?
Yeah, but the thing is that that Excel spreadsheet you made there.
Yeah, I keep track of everything that way.
I forgot my passage there, but what were the scores when it was closer, when it was, like 3 years ago, 4 years ago? What were those scores? I didn't think they were so far off.
2016, the average was 128.3. The upper front was 139.7, and the football, it was at 141.1. Now, I don't know if that has to do with the temperatures, but the football this year dropped to 130.
Well, I don't know about that. Again, it's about 3 different drops in 10 different spots and an average of all of those. So that, gives it a little fluctuation. In 2016, I had the same deep decompaction done prior to those tests in trying to extend the lives, because I've put it into my budget presentation since 2016 that we have to be prepared to redo these fields.
Yeah, I can see in 16, well, it says August 16th, so that was in 2016. It was $9,800, so that was probably when you did.
That was, yeah.
Right.
And that repair balance, how many years now?
Well, that decompaction and repair was 2016, so then that kept us going.
Then in 2017, it looks like there was $8,500.
Yep. and then 2018 was when the numbers just, the overall average was still getting up there, but okay. But individually, there were spots that just, they were completely, we had a spot measure 200. We had a spot measure over 200. So it measured that number already, fluffed up the infill, as I keep saying, because it's really what we did, and it brought it down. But as soon as that decompacts more again, it's going to be right back there.
Well, I think that maybe if we could, well, like I said, first of all, I just thought that our risk management company should have seen the second test because they were looking at tests that were above it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just thought that they should have had it because they're looking at it and their letter states, well, you know, Vernon, you need to be responsible and do something about it. Well, we did, but it doesn't look like we told them we did.
Right.
And that's not. Yeah, but I'm just, like I said, based on their letters. I mean, that was one thing, but, you know, if I'm willing to go out and look, just to say I did, but I think if Sports Care has done this in other towns, I think it might be good to find out maybe what towns, and I'm not saying you do this, but like our own research, you know, if they have done this in other towns, and we could find out from these other towns, okay, how long did it last, and what ended up happening, because it's, you know,
Right. Well, I would just suggest if you do that, though, find out how old their fields were also at the time, because 14 years old, from my understanding in the turf field world, is pretty remarkable that they're even still passing any tests and being used.
I mean, but it's still, if you're looking at the fields lasting 10 years, I mean, we're looking at $100,000 a year, which, I don't know, is a lot of money.
Right.
So it's, I mean, yeah, I know turf is the thing to do because you don't lose any play time, you know, when it rains, but it's still a huge impact on the taxpayers. So.
Well, my goal would be, if and when we replace these, working with Chuck, that we redo the ordinance that sets the fees and restructure. I've been working with all of the sports leagues to restructure their permits and times on the field, so we would be able to rent them out a little bit more and bring in some more revenue from that to help offset things. The money I have in a trust right now, which has covered all of the repairs to date on that sheet, plus the money we have set aside for the deposit, is all from revenue from renting them. As I said, not much. Same thing as last year. In 2016, off the top of my head, I would say probably 10,000, maybe 13,000 came in that year.
It's almost not worth renting it to. I mean, because if you're putting the wear and tear for that amount of money, it
Right. Well, again, though, if we restructure things and redo our fee ordinances, things could change a bit on that to be more beneficial in that sense, which is all very doable. It just has to be done by ordinance.
Oh, are you moving on to something else?
No, I'm just throwing it out there. I'd like the ledger, the trust fund ledger. I got just the trust fund with the accounts. I'd like the ledger for the last 2 years. Full ledger. And prepare for that.
If anybody wants to go to the fields, I'm happy to go with you.
But I think I'd like to speak to Sports Care too. So
Yeah, definitely. I was just going to say, and actually, if you know, they're the repair company, so if you'd like to have them come as well, that would be great too.
I don't want to pay them to come here. I can call them.
I don't know, but yeah, call them. Mm-hmm. Any other questions, anyone?
No, I think I'm good. Anybody
Okay.
else? All right, thank you. The only thing with this ordinance is, I mean, I'd hate to take out the field and then find out we really, you know, we do need them. But I don't know what it'll do, us postponing it with any of the other items, you know, that are in this.
It'll only be first reading, so you have second reading and also a public hearing.
I guess it wouldn't. I'm just wondering because, like I said, I don't want to put off things, but then again, I don't know. What are the council's thoughts, John?
Have first reading and anything changes.
Well, we would still have to.
You would have to go through a public hearing, a second reading, and at the second reading, you could vote it down at that point.
So we're really
Postpone,
not, but we're not gaining anything. If we table it, if we just don't vote on it and we just carry it to the next meeting, we're not gaining anything. If we introduce it now and then make a change next meeting, we'd still have to carry it to another meeting. So
Needed to.
right. So
We still have that research time.
yeah. So all right. So we'll just.
Next year, based on the capital plan. So they'll definitely get done. Yes. That's the plan. Council.
So did we just want to move this ordinance ahead and have a motion to table it?
I'll make a motion to table it.
Do I have a second? Table it to May 30th? So you made a motion, Sandy?
Yes, she did.
Is there a second? I'll make a second. Roll call to table ordinance 1910 to May 30th.
Councilmember Ooms? Councilmember Carreri? Councilmember Van Tassel, absent. Councilmember Allberger?
No.
Councilmember Murphy?
Yes. Okay, so we're not going to table, so you want to, so now what we'll do is make a motion to introduce it. Who wants to make the motion to introduce it?
Motion to introduce.
Okay, roll call. Go ahead.
Councilmember Ooms? Councilmember Carreri?
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel, absent. Councilmember Allberger?
Yes.
Council President Murphy?
No. Okay. So
Both motions fail.
so both motions fail, so we'll just move on. Okay. And then we'll decide if it's going to go back on the agenda on May 30th. Okay, so we will move on to our consent agenda. We will be separating out Resolution 1917 and 19111. So the first resolution we have is 19116. This is the authorization, the cancellation of capital appropriation balances. Resolution 19118. This is a resolution authorizing the issuance not to exceed $1,407,500 bond anticipation notes. Resolution 19120, resolution authorizing the application to the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs. This authorizes the application for a grant from the Department of Police. Resolution appointing Kristen Umansky as the Vernon Township Municipal Tax Assessor pursuant to NJSA 48:9-146. As everyone knows, our tax assessor has retired, and this will appoint our new assessor. Resolution 19122, emergency temporary appropriations. This authorizes additional funds pending the budget adoption. May I have a motion to adopt Resolution 19116, 19118, 19120 through 19122? May I have a second? Roll call?
Councilmember Ooms?
Yes.
Councilmember Carreri?
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel, absent. Councilmember Allberger?
Yes.
Council President Murphy?
Yes. And I'd just like to bring the council's attention that our new tax assessor, Kristen, is here in the audience today.
Oh,
So,
welcome.
congratulations.
Good luck. Thank you.
And just so she is a Vernon resident, so that's actually nice. And thank you. Okay, first we have Resolution 119-1 19-117, approving a charitable solicitation permit for Pochuck Valley Fire Department. May I have a motion to adopt Resolution 119? Yes. Roll call?
Councilmember Ooms. Councilmember Carreri.
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel, absent. Councilmember Allberger.
Abstain.
Council President Murphy.
Yes. Resolution 19-119, resolution authorizing the use of open space funds for the construction and maintenance of the Vernon Township Center Bike and Walking Trail. Discussion?
I want to thank Mr. Fiore for answering questions, because I was hoping the mayor was going to be here, because I did last meeting. There's been such a long gap between meetings, and Greener Design was here, and we just got new map, and since then, I had a lot of concerns about the property, and I had asked the mayor, is this going on property that we own? And he said we have an easement for that. But there's sewer easement. I would like to see the agreement, the sewer agreement, with the owner of that property. Because if that agreement only says the sewer line and not for a walking path going to the property, that could make us liable for a lawsuit in the future. Also, that line there, and that's that question I had for the mayor, it just stops. If you look at that map, and the trail just ends. So I don't think they have an easement to connect the trail to the loop, because that will be on somebody else's property. So I asked the lawyer, have you reviewed that agreement with that property owner?
I personally haven't reviewed it.
So with that said, I don't...
Some of my office may have, but I haven't been working on this project.
Yeah, so without the not proper knowledge of this, I think we could be liable in the future if we don't own that property where it's going.
So is there any harm in approving this and obtaining these easements? Or any? I'm just asking the attorney.
I mean, I don't see a problem with that at this time. This is only approving, the money.
Right,
I mean,
we're not
this
approving them.
This isn't any specific vendor contract in any specific spot on the respective planned trail.
So we're just releasing, we've come to a conclusion where we saw the presentation, we adjusted the resolution because there was originally maintenance money that we removed because no trail, no reason to release maintenance money. But at this point, we're just authorizing that the money be available once the trail is ready, when the vendor is put in place and it comes back for something like that. So
correct.
I mean, based on that, it's not, we're preparing it to move forward. We're not, it's not that they're going out and putting shovels in the ground on somebody else's property tomorrow.
I disagree with that. I disagree with releasing money when we don't know we can put that trail there. And I do disagree because that grant was sent with, I believe, a trail map on other people's property, which is wrong. I think a lot of things are wrong. I've said this before. We've had problems in the past with this. Again, the map doesn't match the engineering. And I don't agree with releasing money that we could possibly release it when we're ready to use it. When it's been staked, when it's been clarified, when we've seen the agreement, that's where the trail's going. So that money is earmarked for that trail. And I don't think we should release it. And I think there's big questions there. No one's reviewed that easement.
But I think
agreement yet. And so without that being said, the engineer never wrote that he looked at that agreement. I just think right now it's too soon to go forward. We need all our ducks in a row, then release the money. I don't believe we should release that money. I'm not against the trail, but I don't want this now to be construction on somebody else's property.
Yeah, but they're not starting the construction yet. So that's what I'm saying.
They put in a grant for it there. The engineer wrote for it. I mean, everybody seems like it's a go, but everybody forgot. Let's look at this easement. Everybody's a go. Spend the money. Here's our grant. Here's our map. Let's go. Shouldn't the engineer in that engineering cost should have said, this,
situation. We didn't even get that back from the engineer. So until we get all of that, I don't think we should go forward. I don't think it's being prudent. I think it's being reckless.
I don't think it's being reckless.
I do, and that's my opinion, and it shouldn't be released until we have everything in a row. I'm not against the trail. That's great that it's going there. But let's not, I mean, it's simply waiting to see who owns it. I'm sorry. The way this thing's been going, I wouldn't be surprised if they just went ahead and did it without reviewing it.
I don't agree with that.
I mean,
I'm
for that agreement.
you know what, Sandy? I mean,
asked for it. Did we ever get it? No. I'm just saying. And
Councilwoman,
just saying, for political, all of this, we should not move forward. And I know that everybody wants to, but what's wrong with waiting to make sure we own the property? That's not being unreasonable.
Councilwoman, just one thing.
There, I said it.
Councilwoman, just one thing I'd like to point out. I mean, given the scope of the project, you know, the vendors would likely be of a dollar amount where they would have to come back before you anyway to get an approval resolution.
You go to a vendor, you don't even know if you own the property. How could you?
I'm not saying.
It should be halted till we decide that property belongs to the town.
no, but I think what the attorney is trying to explain is that even though we're approving its release to be used, it still has to come back for a vote once a vendor is chosen of who's going to do it.
Why? What's the difference? Well, why really?
Exactly.
Because
it was
doesn't look good, and that's the way I feel.
Again, you're making. See, now you're just making assumptions.
I am.
So anyways, is there a motion to adopt
Real motion.
a resolution 19119? Patrick made a motion. Is there a second? I'll make a second. Roll call.
Councilmember Ooms,
No.
Councilmember Carreri,
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel, absent. Councilmember Allberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Murphy.
Yes. Next, we move on to Resolution 19122. It's the emergency temporary appropriation. This authorizes additional funds pending the budget adoption. Oh, wait, did I do that already?
Yeah, I was on the
Thank you.
consent
Yeah, I
agenda.
just, when I turned it, I was like, wait. Okay. We're going to move on to the public hearing of the 2019 municipal budget. The municipal budget was introduced on April 8th, advertised and posted. By New Jersey statute, the township may simply read the budget by title at the public hearing if we approve to do so. So, Resolution 19123, resolution to read the 2019 municipal budget by title only. May I have a motion to adopt Resolution 19123? May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Wait, so we're reading this, but we're not voting on the budget. Am I correct? Correct. Why would we be doing this?
We're going to read it
so
by
they can
title
make
only,
comments.
and then we're going to have our public hearing, and then we're going to adopt. We're going to table the introduction or the second reading of it.
Not about the public hearing, okay?
So, Allberger and Carreri, roll call.
Councilmember Ooms,
Yes.
Councilmember Carreri,
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel, absent. Councilmember Allberger,
Yes.
Council President Murphy.
Yes. Now we'll move on to the public hearing of the 2019 municipal budget. May I have a motion to open for public comments? May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there anyone from the public that would like to step forward that have any comments on the 2019 budget? Please step forward.
Good evening, Dorian Edwards, Highland Lakes. I was just curious. I was trying to get a handle on, I was reading different articles about how much the school taxes would possibly be increasing and how much maybe the municipal taxes would be increasing. And they list value of a home, I think in the twos somewhere.
214, about 215.
Can you give me an idea with them combined, what we're looking at?
It looks like the Board of Ed is talking about $198 increase on a home that's assessed just
Annual.
under 215, and the town is somewhere around $80. So would be that combined on a home assessed at 215.
What's the consensus when the, they didn't start the appraisal yet, did they? I haven't seen anything.
They have.
Okay.
They started at Block 1, so
What's that?
actually it's near like the Glenwood Mountain Road section over there, so they did start. They've been, I think at the end of, when was the last meeting? April 22nd? They were actually, by that time, they were already at my house. Yeah, so.
Any idea, like, do you have a window, are they going to be steady, are they going to go down or up?
Well, you mean the assessments or the tax? I mean, you know, the assessments are really not going to have that much. I mean, usually and traditionally it's always a third of the homes go up, a third go down, a third stay the same. But we've had many residents appeal their assessments over the last few years. So I wouldn't anticipate their taxes really changing too much.
Right.
I mean, but that's just a guess. But if, you know, somebody like myself, I mean, I would hope to see mine decrease because I've never, actually fought my assessment. But you really don't know what's going to happen once.
So you get no heads up until it's all over?
No, but that won't be till next year. So that has nothing like that. You're not going to see that impact with what's happening now. And with the school budget, they run on a different calendar. I mean, we're looking at, portion of their increase now that's going to go into next year. And I anticipate that the Board of Ed's increase next year's, with them losing their funding, it may be even worse. So.
Just sad because you should have saw that coming.
Yeah, but the Board of Ed?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
They have their meetings regularly.
I know.
But as far as our reval, I mean, we're years behind with that because our maps were not approved by the state. But we were ordered by the county to have that. So
many people were querying their
but we're the only, other than I think it was Walpack that has 14 homes, we're the only town in the county that still has not had their the revaluation recently in the last few years.
Did you say Walpack only has 14
I think
homes?
it's Walpack. I think it was Walpack.
I believe that because I went to the Walpack Inn. I'm like, where is this place?
That was
in
it.
the middle of nothing.
That was, you were in Walpack. That was it.
Didn't they
All right,
buy
I was
that
just
land to
curious.
flood it? That's why there's no homes there. Weren't they building that for a reservoir and they bought out all the homes and they were going to flood it, but never did it, and that's why there's no homes in Wolfpack. Taxes are probably very low.
They're going to have to go. I don't know, state of New Jersey and Hull was trouble.
But if they do come to your house, please let them in.
Yes, I've seen them. I actually saw at the counter that there's pictures of the people and the vehicles that they're driving. So, if anybody wants to
And they
look.
have vests on that says property inspectors on the back in real large letters, so they're wearing fluorescent vests.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public that have any comments on the budget? Seeing no one, may I have a motion to close?
Motion?
Yep, I have a first and a second. John first. Councilmember Owens second. Let's see next. May I have a motion to table Resolution 19107, which is the adoption of the 2019 municipal budget?
Motion.
And we're tabling it till May 30th. So I have John Olberger and Councilmember Ohms second. Roll call?
Councilmember Ooms?
Yes.
Councilmember Carreri?
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel, absent. Councilmember Allberger?
Yes.
Council President Murphy.
Yes. Okay, next, ordinance 1910, we tabled that already to May 30th. Next, we have a council appointment. Resolution 19124 is the appointment to the Municipal Utilities Authority. Angela Erickson. If the council is the council's wishes to appoint her as a full member or appoint her to the first alternate and move Mr. Paul Carney up to a full member?
I think Paul Carney, being he served on there as an alternate with the experience, should be moved up to full.
Okay. So,
Make that as a motion.
we just make that as an announcement. So what we would do then is we will appoint Angela Erickson into the first, we'll switch their places, so we'll appoint Angela Erickson to the first alternate spot, and then we'll be moving Paul Carney up to a full member. Yes? May I have a motion? May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Ooms,
Yes.
Councilmember Carreri,
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel, absent, Councilmember Allberger,
Yes.
Council President Murphy.
Yes. Council comments? Councilmember Owens?
No comment. Oh, yes, 2 comments. Has the mayor been out of the office?
Yes.
So who's acting mayor?
Who's back in there?
No, who's acting mayor?
That would be me.
Yeah, we never got anything. Who was the acting mayor? I didn't get an email that said that Mayor Shortway was out and he was acting. Did you guys get an email?
No, I just...
Check.
So that should be really done every time, so we know who is in charge. That's one thing. Second thing, if you guys could send me the ledger, that's fine. That? I think that's it. Thank you.
I'm all for more research on the field issue. However, if it comes down to either bond or close the fields, if we close the fields, we may as well close up shop in Vernon. There won't be any point to protecting the taxpayer if there aren't any taxpayers left. Everyone uses Maple Grange or knows someone who uses Maple Grange. It's that important. It's kind of like the heart of the community, especially from spring to fall. Everyone's parents, grandparents, kids are there. And I don't think anybody doubts that importance. So I'm looking forward to a little more research and getting it right. Thank you.
Second what he said.
Okay. Okay, so I just wanted to remind everyone here and the public that the DEP will be here in Vernon. Commissioner McCabe will be here on May 20th between 6 and 7 p.m. at the Vernon High School to have a discussion or give us updated information on the Wallace property. Also, with that is the paid group, the People Against Legal Dumping. They're holding a meeting on May 16th on a Thursday at the Appalachian Hotel in the Barrett Room. That's at 7 to 9 p.m. So that's on May 16th. And then as our chief announced earlier, June 1st is Ice Cream with a Cop. Something else the council members received was a proposed change in one of our ordinances to add the Airbnb to our code under where the hotel tax is. So that's something for you to review. It's not a large change. I know we were originally looking at a massive ordinance, but we're looking at possibly just making some minor changes to add that in there. We did receive a resolution from Senator Orho's office opposing a rain tax. So I don't think that we're interested in charging a tax on rainwater to our residents. So we'll have that for our next agenda. And I'm just curious, is there any money, did we find any money for a new sound system, or is that just going to be in the next budget, in our budget?
It's in the current budget.
All right. And then I have a couple questions on the bills list. I noticed in here that we had, for the canning group, it was a charge for, actually for the chief financial officer when he did that. And I'm just wondering, I mean, that happened last August. So I was just wondering, did they forget to bill us?
Yes.
Okay, because I just thought that maybe they...
I didn't remind him, however, but
Well, I saw
finally
that, and
realized it.
I thought, I hope we're not paying it that late, but he must have forgot to bill us. So maybe he should give us a discount since he forgot. I mean, it was a long time ago.
I actually did ask for that because we had one less candidate that opted out at the last minute, but they said they couldn't.
And then I noticed on the website that our DPW or our recycling, they're no longer accepting rigid plastic. And I see on the bills list we have to pay yearly for that.
You have to pay additional money to SCUMA to have the rigid plastics taken.
One of the residents asked me, they said that the day that there was the bulk drop-off, they just asked, they said, how come Vernon residents can't just drive to Lafayette themselves that day, show their ID, and bring their stuff? They said because what they noticed is that they had to wait in a long line to drop their stuff off, and then they noticed trucks going to the dump next week. So they said, we're waiting here to bring it here because we're Vernon residents, and then we're paying the DPW to now cart everything to Lafayette. And they're like, why can't, if I have a truck, why can't I just drive it to Lafayette that day, show them my ID, and bring it there for free? I said,
And we would still get the credit, too.
We'd still get the credit. So it's just a question. Like I said, it just seemed to be a little redundant that now we're paying the DPW to be trucking things.
Well, it's what they can do with the rigid plastics.
Right, but what about...
Plastics can go directly there from anybody who's got them, rather than us collecting them here. And the problem that we run into is they always get mixed, no matter how... I mean, you'd almost have to have somebody physically stand guard.
Right, but I'm talking about the day that they did the bulk pickup that you probably didn't see, but I guess you could...
No, I heard it was almost all the way out past...
Right, so residents are asking, on that day when it is Vernon, why can't they just drive their debris to Lafayette themselves, show their ID? If it is, if they're not being charged, I
think it was the convenience for the residents rather than having to take it over there, but it's something that's been done for many years, so we could make that change if the council wanted.
Well, it's not even that making the change, but maybe making the option for that day. If it's a drop-off, they're just saying is, if they live in Scenic Lakes, it's probably further for them to come here than it is for them to go to Lafayette, and they probably wouldn't have the line that they have here, and then we don't have to pay the DPW to pack it up on their truck and bring it down to Lafayette the following week. So it's not changing it. It's just maybe adding an option. So
I have to find out from the county if they're willing to do that.
Well, right, but if you're going there and you have your, that. Right, and it was a couple weeks ago, I think, that they had the bulky waste drop off. So, but they told me it was like the following week they saw the trucks heading to Lafayette with all the stuff that was dropped here. So, let's see, I think there was one other thing on here, and it's not a huge item, but it was a stand-up desk. Is that something?
What is that?
It's a stand-up, but it's just... That becoming more popular, so that means we'll just get rid of desks.
No, it sits on the existing desk and the.
No, it's just.
You're not getting any with the treadmill, though. So in case anybody was inquiring about that.
Well, if you did, maybe our insurance rates would go down. Maybe the insurance company should make that a prerequisite. So that's all I have.
Really lovely and that's why really nice. It's very nice that they invited us. Like all the seniors had a nice time. They were at oh yeah, and the senior of the year. That was very nice of the senior board to do that.
Pirates and winches?
Oh, no, I know what I'm going as.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
First, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion adjourned at 8:36.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, gee. Is there any... Can we reopen now to public? Yeah. Is there anyone from the public?
Favor.
All in favor? Is there
Aye.
anyone from the public that would like to step forward, have any comments? Seeing no one.
I have something. Sally Rinker Vernon. Mr. Carreri, we know why you're here. Okay, we know you're here to push the mayor's agenda. Gene Murphy,
You know what?
No matter
Oh, God.
what I say, if I say black, you say white, even if it means risking $200,000 of the open space funds. You can go through your little bills list and make sure that you're interested in penny stuff. Okay? Mr. Towns, for you to sit there as our attorney and have no advice for this council, to allow them to move forward.
Point of order.
To allow them to move forward without any legal advice.
Do you have any comments to the entire council as opposed to showing up?
To allow a vote to utilize potentially $200,000 of our money on property we don't own. If you don't think that's a legal snafu and a potential liability for this town, there are property owners that might not like the path being carved on their property without permission. And it may be funny to you because you don't pay the taxes in this town. And you don't pay for the mistakes that are made in this town.
Excuse me, please
But
do
we
not
have
stand
plenty
there
of
and be
mistakes
browbeating
that are
our
made in this
professionals.
town.
This is
It's
not
called browbeating. It's called speaking, Ms.
No,
Murphy.
it's not.
But you know well about browbeating because you do it very well from up there.
Thank you.
Okay? And you're a disgrace as a realtor and as someone who's lived in this town for a long time, that you have nothing but a political agenda. And you slam down Sandy Ohms every time she has good advice to help the taxpayers of this town. She's the only one who stands up for what's right. And you too, Mr. Orberger, should be ashamed of yourself. You've lived and worked in this town for many years. You sat back here for 2 years listening to council meetings. And yet you go with the flow instead of standing up for what's right for the taxpayer. Thank you. No thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to come up and speak? Please do so.
That's a tough act to follow.
Sorry you had to. Sorry you had to follow it.
Sorry, don't worry, Gene.
Point of order. You've already spoken, ma'am. Don't shout from the audience.
Hi, Peg. How are you?
Peg DeStassi. I've lived in town for 35 years. I love this town, as you all know. I raised my family here. My children went through the school system, and I now have grandchildren in the system, and they play sports on the fields in town. Just this past week, as I went to my grandson's lacrosse game, as I was walking along the edge of the field to move along where they were playing, I tripped on the, whatever you want to call it, turf, because all of a sudden the turf did a little dip. It was obviously a problem underneath. Luckily, I only twisted my ankle slightly and I had good sneakers on, so I was okay. We all know the field is in its almost 15th year. It's gone 5 years longer than it was expected to live. It needs to be replaced. And the only thing I would add to that is, what price do you put on a young child being seriously injured? $800,000 is a lot of money, and I live here, I pay a lot of taxes, but I don't want to see a child hurt because those fields are in bad shape. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public?
Good evening, Zoe Heath, Vernon. I come from an organization called Momentum Sussex, which works with community service organizations to help basically make Sussex County a better, more welcoming place. And I just wanted to invite all of you to our Pride event in Newton on June 15th. Those visibility from our elected officials in support of communities that are as marginalized as the LGBT community are very powerful, and I just want to put that out there. It's from 11 to 2 on June 15th, and I hope to see you there.
Thank you.
There's a little park in the center of Newton, the Newton Green. It's where that traffic thing is that everyone gets stuck in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, back, June 15th,
11 to 2. We'll have music and speakers and face painting, fun stuff. It's a great event. Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to step forward? Seeing no one, may I have a motion to close? May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
The meeting concludes at 8:41 p.m.
We're adjourned.